Have you ever spent hours studying only to realize you barely remember anything the next day? What if I told you that most people are studying all wrong and that you could learn complex subjects 10 times faster using 3 simple secrets from one of history's greatest geniuses? Welcome back to the channel where we transform ordinary learning into extraordinary understanding. Today, we're diving into the revolutionary learning techniques of Richard Feynman, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist, whose methods have helped thousands of students master even the most challenging subjects with remarkable speed and clarity. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Has this ever happened to you? You read a textbook chapter multiple times, highlighting key points and taking detailed notes, only to freeze when someone asks you to explain what you just learned. That frustrating gap between recognition and true understanding is exactly what Feynman's methods eliminate. The conventional education system has programmed us to memorize information without truly grasping concepts. We become skilled at recognizing terms and formulas, but clueless when it comes to applying knowledge in real-world situations. Feynman discovered that genuine learning happens when complexity transforms into simplicity, when abstract ideas become so clear that even a child could understand them. Imagine explaining quantum mechanics, not with intimidating equations and jargon, but with a simple analogy about rolling dice. Picture teaching complex economic principles using everyday examples from a grocery store. This is the transformative power of Feynman's first secret: simplification through concrete imagery and relatable stories. But here's where it gets even more powerful. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. The second secret takes this learning approach to an entirely new level. Feynman discovered that the ultimate test of understanding isn't taking exams. It's teaching concepts to others. When you attempt to explain something out loud, the gaps in your knowledge become glaringly obvious. Think about it. How many times have you felt confident about a subject until someone asked you a basic question about it? Suddenly, what seemed crystal clear in your mind becomes a jumbled mess when you try to articulate it. This isn't a failure. It's actually your greatest opportunity for growth. These moments of confusion pinpoint exactly where you need to focus your study efforts. True mastery isn't achieved by highlighting textbooks or making endless flashcards. It comes from the ability to explain complex ideas in simple, accessible language, to translate the language of experts into the language of beginners. When you can take a difficult concept and break it down into pieces so clear that a 7-year-old could grasp them, you've achieved something remarkable. But how exactly do you implement these techniques in your daily study routine? What practical steps can transform ordinary learning into extraordinary understanding? And what is the third, perhaps most powerful secret that ties everything together? If you're ready to transform how you learn and think, hit that subscribe button now. I'm constantly sharing powerful techniques that most educational systems never teach. This brings us to Feynman's third secret, a revelation that transformed my entire learning journey. While most people approach studying as a necessary torture, something to endure rather than enjoy, Feynman discovered a profound truth. The mind absorbs information exponentially faster when learning becomes a game of discovery. Think about it. When was the last time you lost track of time while studying? If you're like most people, that rarely happens. But what if you could trigger the same mental state that makes hours fly by when you're playing video games or watching your favorite show? That's the hidden power behind Feynman's approach to learning. When you approach a difficult subject with playfulness and curiosity, your brain creates powerful emotional connections to the material. These emotional anchors transform abstract concepts into vivid experiences that stick in your memory far longer than anything you've memorized through force or repetition. Instead of seeing physics as a collection of intimidating formulas, turn it into experiments you can touch and feel. Rather than viewing mathematics as abstract symbols, reshape it into puzzles that challenge and delight your mind. This mindset shift doesn't just make learning more enjoyable, it fundamentally changes how your brain processes and retains information. The transformation happens at a neurological level. When you learn with joy, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical triggered by rewards and pleasure. This creates stronger neural pathways, literally hardwiring the knowledge into your memory. What you learn with pleasure becomes permanent. What you learn through force evaporates quickly. But here's where many people misunderstand Feynman's approach. The journey to mastery isn't just about making learning fun. It also requires the fourth secret: unbreakable discipline through small daily habits. This might seem contradictory at first, but the two principles actually reinforce each other perfectly. The most profound impact comes not from studying intensely for 8 hours once a week, but from consistent, focused learning in small daily sessions. Feynman understood that the mind responds better to consistent repetition than to occasional marathon sessions. Commit to just 20 minutes of focused study each day. This small, seemingly insignificant commitment compounds into over 100 hours per year. That's the equivalent of taking a full college-level course. The decision to establish this routine creates a system where learning becomes inevitable rather than optional. True discipline isn't about forcing yourself to study when you don't feel like it. It's about creating environmental triggers and routines that make studying automatic, like brushing your teeth or checking your phone. The masters of any field aren't necessarily more talented, they're simply more consistent in their practice. Now, I want to go even deeper into how these principles work together to create a powerful learning system. The beauty of combining joyful discovery with consistent habits creates a self-reinforcing cycle that accelerates your progress beyond what most people think possible. Write in the comments, learning should be joyful, if you agree that our education system too often strips away the natural curiosity that makes learning powerful. When these learning principles intersect, they create a powerful framework that few educational systems teach. Let's explore the fifth essential element of Feynman's approach: visualization through concrete analogies. This revelation transformed my own journey from struggling student to confident learner. The human brain evolved over millions of years to process visual information and make connections between familiar concepts. It wasn't designed to memorize abstract formulas or technical definitions. It was built to imagine, to create mental pictures that relate to our lived experience. This is why concrete analogies are so incredibly effective for mastering complex subjects. Instead of memorizing the abstract definition of a fraction, visualize it as slicing a pizza. Rather than trying to grasp the mathematical concept of a derivative through formulas alone, picture it as measuring the exact speed of a car at a specific moment. When probability seems confusing, imagine rolling dice or flipping coins. These tangible comparisons create neural pathways that abstract definitions simply cannot match. This visualization technique operates on a profound psychological level. By connecting new information to experiences and images already stored in your memory, you're essentially creating a mental shortcut. Your brain says, "Oh, I already understand how pizza slicing works, so this new concept of fractions must work similarly." This cognitive bridge allows you to absorb information at a dramatically accelerated pace. Join our community of accelerated learners by subscribing to this channel. Every video is designed to help you master complex subjects with less effort and more understanding. The breakthrough comes when you realize that even the most intimidating subjects, quantum physics, advanced economics, organic chemistry, can be broken down into these visual analogies. Behind every complex idea lies a simpler core concept that can be represented through imagery or comparison. Finding that underlying simplicity is the true art of learning. But here's where many students still stumble. They approach complex subjects as massive mountains to climb in a single, exhausting push. This brings us to Feynman's sixth secret: breaking learning into microblocks. The revolution in understanding comes when you stop trying to absorb entire subjects at once and instead divide them into focused 10 to 15-minute segments. For each microblock, follow a three-step process that fundamentally changes how your brain processes information. First, consume the material attentively. Second, close the source completely and challenge yourself to explain what you just learned in your own words, as if teaching it to someone else. Finally, identify what you missed or couldn't articulate clearly. This process forces active processing instead of passive glancing, illuminating exactly where your understanding needs reinforcement. The insight behind this approach is that the mind doesn't build understanding through marathon study sessions. It constructs knowledge through repeated small cycles of focused attention, active recall, and self-correction. Combined with simple sketches or mind maps that visualize connections between concepts, this technique transforms overwhelming subjects into manageable steps you can climb one by one. The fusion of these principles creates a learning ecosystem where complexity naturally gives way to clarity. It's not about studying harder. It's about studying smarter, with an awareness of how your mind naturally processes and retains information. Comment below with "Microblocks change my perspective" if you've ever felt overwhelmed trying to master an entire subject at once, and this approach resonates with you. Now you have 3 powerful Feynman techniques that can transform how you learn forever. What's fascinating about these methods is that they aren't just study techniques, they're life skills that reshape how your brain processes information. I've seen students go from struggling with basic concepts to mastering advanced material in record time simply by implementing these principles. I create these videos because I believe everyone deserves to know how their mind actually works, knowledge that most educational systems simply don't teach. If you found value in these insights today, consider subscribing to join our community of learners who are challenging conventional wisdom about how we absorb and retain information. The journey to becoming a more efficient learner is ongoing, and I'd love to hear which of these techniques resonated most strongly with you. Drop a comment saying, "My learning revolution starts today," if these ideas sparked something inside you and you're committed to putting at least one of them into practice this week. If this conversation helped shift your perspective on learning, a simple like tells me these are the kinds of insights worth sharing. Your engagement helps these ideas reach others who might be struggling with the same learning challenges you faced. There's a video right here that explores how to apply these exact techniques to master any new skill in half the usual time. Click and continue with me over there as we dive deeper into the science of accelerated learning and how small adjustments to your approach can yield extraordinary results. Until next time, remember that true learning isn't about how much you study. It's about how you study. Your mind is capable of far more than you realize.